The Art of Russ Nicholson. Although best known to we fantasy aficionados as an illustrator of sublime black and white art adorning gaming books, this was not Russ's original goal and not how he spent a majority of his working days. That said, the trajectory of his life all stemmed from his love of drawing, from the act of creating, something many of you, and myself indeed, can no doubt relate to. I always loved to draw. I admired cartoonists in the 1950s, and I really liked the idea of working for the Beano. So at 15, which was the school leaving age then, I contacted them, but was told by DC Thompson that they would only take artists who had a degree. So I got a degree. When I contacted the offices again in Dundee, they said they only trained their own. A real catch-22. Amusingly, I did later become a comic artist on some of the girls' comics and annuals, like Bunty and Tracy. And so armed with his degree, Russ headed down south from Scotland to London. Back in the early 70s, trying to get work without an agent was very difficult. But by using an agent, you took what you were offered. The work was meagre, so I had to find a weekly paying job. This came in the form of an advertising sweatshop, so to speak, in London, with very little money. It was not the best of times. As for my fantasy work, when I attempted to show it around, it was either ignored or, as one company editor told me in no uncertain terms, it was just too like Rackham, and there's no call for such work. Wrong place, wrong time, as they say. To escape the infamous 3-day week difficulties, and although still constantly sending drawings to small press fanzines, I decided to put my skills to another use, and after postgraduate training, became an art teacher. And this was what he did until his retirement, but thankfully for us, not only this. Funds were limited and finding the best materials proved expensive. Illustrative work dried up as tastes changed and made work scarcer for those not already securely established. The final straw in London was that I was laid off from the commercial house I worked for. As I scrambled around, looking for paying work of any kind, I kept drawing. Fantasy work was always a driving force, so I began to submit work to the many small, self-published fanzines that proliferated in the 1970s. This led to being contacted by White Dwarf magazine, and the rest is history. The Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Something that we neglected to talk about in our last video was the necessity of filling out the adventure sheet, which comes in the front of each fighting fantasy book. To begin with, you roll a d6 and then add 6 to the value that you roll. This gives you your skill characteristic. As you can see, we got a 10. Next, you roll a pair of dice and add 12 to the result. This gives you your stamina. This gave us a total of 21. Next, you again roll 1 die and add 6 to result to give you your luck characteristic. This gave us a 10. Next, it was time to deal with potions and equipment. Each adventurer starts with a sword, leather armor, shield and backpack. and get to choose one potion. We chose the potion of strength. Finally, we made a note of the number of provisions we have. We started with 10. And with our bookkeeping complete, it was now time to head back into the dungeon. The passageway soon comes to an end at a locked wooden door. You listen at the door, but hear nothing. And so, you try to charge the door down. You charge the door with your shoulder. The door bursts open and you fall headlong into a room. But your heart jumps as you realize you are not landing on the floor, but plunging down a pit of some kind. Luckily, the pit is not particularly deep and you land in a heap less than 2 meters down. Lose 1 stamina point for your bruises. Climb out of the pit into the room and leave through the door, heading westwards. You arrive back at the junction in the passage. You look left to see the cave entrance in the dim distance, but walk straight on. There is a right-hand turn to the north in the passage. Cautiously, you approach a sentry post on the corner, and as you look in, you can see a strange, goblin-like creature in leather armor asleep at his post. You try to tiptoe past him. Test your luck. To test your luck, you roll 2 dice. If the number rolled is equal to or less than your current luck score, you have been lucky. If it is higher, then you have been unlucky. Each time you test your luck, you must subtract 1 point from your current luck score. To your left, on the west face of the passage, there is a rough-cut wooden door. You listen at the door and can hear a rasping sound, which may be some sort of creature snoring.